With the Desert Perpetual Day 1 race done and dusted, I wanted to talk about the Titan build that carried teams to their completion. While I never attempted the Day 1, I was watching teams take the raid on and noticed this build was a must-have. Today we'll be covering the build layout, exotics needed for this build, armor stats to focus, and more so that you can carry your team in your Desert Perpetual clear. I'm SniperKH, and let's get into it. To start off, let's begin with the subclass layout. For the build, you'll need the Arc subclass on the Titan, and for many of you, you might recognize the build I'm going to be talking about. The important parts of this build are Thunder Crash, as it's the best super for Arc Titans, Rally Barricade to take more advantage of one of our aspects, Pulse Grenades for synergy with our other aspect, Storm's Keep, and Touch of Thunder. Rally Barricade and Storm's Keep have great synergy with one another, as Rally Barricade allows you to have access to faster reload speed, while having a great way to generate Bolt Charge, while Pulse Grenades and Touch of Thunder synergize to build your abilities back faster, as 6 of damage from the Pulse Grenade will generate Ionic Traces for ability energy, and Touch of Thunder will allow for our Pulse Grenades to deal bonus damage over time. Our fragments will be the go-to fragments for Titans, being Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Discharge, Spark of Beacons, and Spark of Resistance. Spark of Magnitude will increase our Pulse Grenade duration, letting it tick a few more times. Spark of Discharge will let our arc weapons have the chance to generate Ionic Traces, which will give us another source of Bolt Charge. Spark of Beacons will also grant our arc special and heavy weapons the ability to blind enemies when we are amplified, making our crowd control better. Finally, Spark of Resistance will grant us bonus damage resistance when surrounded by enemies, making melee final blows easy to get. Now, if you're familiar with Destiny build crafting, you'll probably mention to me that this is the exact same subclass layout as Bolt Charge Simulator from last season, and while that is true, there is one major change to this build we need to discuss. For the exotics, we mainly will be focusing on the armor, as the weapon isn't as critical for this build. For the armor, we'll be switching out Heart of Inmost Blade for Crest of Alpha Lupi. Crest of Alpha Lupi got a pretty nice buff with this expansion that grants this exotic a knockoff version of the Defibrillating Blast artifact mod we had last episode. The buff Crest got is that it now creates a smaller healing pulse when dealing sustained damage, and healing teammates with that healing pulse grants bonus class ability energy. Having this exotic on allows you to have an on-demand heal, while also providing a great heal for you and your teammates for damage phases, which is crucial since there is some major sources of damage coming from enemies in each encounter of the new raid. Additionally, you'll also get Bolt Charge from the Barricade, which translates into free damage overall. The exotic weapon isn't important for this build, though for the new raid, weapons like Thunderlord, Outbreak Perfected, and Lord of Wolves are go-to options for DPS, which will pair well with this build. Another thing that is important to mention with this build will be armor stats. Considering the changes made to armor stats with the Edge of Fade, it's important to stack as many points into our armor stats as possible. For this build, the two most important armor stats to focus are class and weapons. Focusing these two stats will grant you faster class ability regeneration and bonus damage to adds, with additional effects once you invest more than 100 points into each stat. For class, having 100 stat points into class reduces the cooldown of your class ability to 19 seconds, meaning that you'll regenerate your barricade back before you lose the one you used, so you'll constantly be generating Bolt Charge. Additionally, having 110 or more points into class will grant you an overshield when you use your class ability, making it even harder to die. In terms of weapons, you'll want 100 points into weapons, as it'll grant you a 15% damage boost against red and yellow bar enemies, and a small damage boost towards bosses as you spec more points into the stat beyond 100. Luckily, the stat distribution is possible to get, as there is an armor archetype that focuses solely on these two stats, so keep your eyes peeled for this armor archetype to easily build into these stats. Next, let's discuss what mods to use. I'd recommend using 2 stacks of Dynamo on your helmet for bonus super energy from popping your class ability near enemies. For your gauntlets, I'd recommend either 2 stacks of Firepower or 2 stacks of Heavy Handed, depending on what ability you use more for ad clear, as you'll generate orbs easily from these kills, and the cooldown will be short at only 5 seconds. For your chest piece, run whatever elemental resistance will benefit you the most for whatever activity you're running. For leg armor, I'd recommend 3 stacks of either Invigoration or Enervation, depending on what ability you use most for ad clear. Finally, for the class item, 1 copy of Outreach or Bomber, depending on your preferred ability, 1 copy of Powerful Attraction to suck in nearby orbs, and 1 copy of Reaper to generate a bonus orb of kill after using your class ability. Artifact mods are also pretty important for this build, so consider using Elemental Benevolence for even more class ability energy, Refresh Threads for even more ability energy, and Elemental Overdrive for bonus arc weapon damage when picking up an Ionic Trace. Moving on to the combat flow, it's the exact same combat flow for this build as it was for the previous iteration of Bull Charge Simulator, being that you want to activate your class ability to start generating your class ability back and to start building Bull Charge stacks. From there, you'll also want to use your abilities to get kills for Orbs of Power and Ionic Traces. Once you get your class ability back, use it and rinse and repeat this process. This combat flow is incredibly easy to follow, which is helpful as you'll be wanting to do this during damage phases, so it won't take much time away from you as you fight the boss you're fighting. Overall, the community seemed certain that Bull Charge Simulator was going to be put to an early grave with Edge of Fate, but Crescent Alpha Lupi's buff has proven that it to be incorrect. This build is incredibly powerful for the new raid in order to keep your allies up and to boost your damage more. If you found today's video helpful, a like rating would be greatly appreciated, and consider subscribing to the channel for more Destiny 2 content dropping weekly. If you'd like to come catch me live, you can do so over at twitch.tv/SniperKH_, where I've been streaming every weekday in the afternoon time, so stop by and say what's up. Also, consider joining my Discord community to join community events, get updates from me, and to game with me. Otherwise, follow my other social media platforms linked below. With that being said, I'm SniperKH, and I'm out. Good luck with gaming.